Hey guys, it's good to be with you. We've been talking about the year of Jubilee, that beautiful tradition that God was wanting for the Israelites to start, something that would become a deep focus of their spiritual journey. Unfortunately, it never became that. But the fact is that God still affirmed it, and it's therefore there for a good reason. We spoke yesterday about the Jubilee being a great celebration of a few things. It's also a commemoration of restoration. But today I want to take it to the next R, which is the R. It's a time of rest. It's a time of rest. In the passage just before the mention of the Jubilee, he's talking about God is talking to Moses about the idea of the 7-day rest thing. You know, we have 7 days in a week, then we have Sabbath. He's saying there needs to be a Sabbath year, and it's a year in which the crops are not sown. The land is left to rest, and it's a great picture for us of God saying to me, it doesn't make sense that less is more, because less days is better than more days. In our economy, more money is better than less money. But when we give up to God that which belongs to Him, less becomes more, because God says, now you're trusting me. So when we give of our offering, when we give of our tithe, God smiles and says, that's an indication of how much you trust me. If you don't give according to what God has said, then it's an implication, it's just an implication that we're trusting ourselves for our daily bread and not God. The same as apparent with the issue of the week. 6 days is better than 7. Now, that doesn't make too much mathematical sense, does it? But it's not a mathematical thing we're studying. These are the principles of God. It's a thing that we're willing to trust God for. So, what we want to talk about today is the Jubilee was 7 times 7. What the writer said was that every 7-year periods, you need to have 1 year of Jubilee, the 50th year. There'll be no sowing, there'll be no reaping, and I will provide for you. It's a time for you to rest. Now, I'm hyperventilating already because I'm thinking, well, how am I going to eat? How am I going to feed myself? How am I going to look after the kids? If I set my life resting for the whole year, God says that's the matter of trust. It's a matter of trust. He says this uniquely. He says there will be a 3-year period where you will not eat off the land, and I will provide for you. That's incredible. Can we trust God that much? Apparently we can, and we should. It's called being at rest. Now, being at rest, we all know, is good for you. But there's another aspect of rest that I think is vitally important, is resting in God. The rest of the Sabbath and all of those beautiful things is part of being well in your own soul and in your own body. That's a good thing to do. But in our minds, there comes a time when we learn what it means to really rest in God. Psalm 23 again comes to mind, where it says there, and He prepares a table for me in the presence of my enemies. That's what God does. He says, in the presence of all of your enemies, just come and rest a while. Stop fighting. Stop trying to make ends meet. Just come and rest a while. What he's saying is that you can sit at the table and I'll take care of your enemies. He puts this table down. It's an amazing picture. God says, come and sit at this table. I'm going to feed you. I'm going to give you the best of the best. And don't worry about the enemies out there. Let the enemies watch you as you feast at the table of God, and I will take care of the enemies. Now you say, well, for us, what are the enemies? Well, the enemies are many things. They're all the problems that you face, that you worry about. The enemies are some of those challenges that you have in your life. The enemies are some of those mountains that just seem so large, you're not going to be able to get over it, through it, or around it. Those are the enemies of your life. And God says, take time out. Come and rest. Be at rest in my presence, at my table, and allow me to take care of the enemies. I find that unbelievably beautiful, that God would be willing to do that on our behalf. You see, it's part of what we choose to do. It doesn't make any sense, but that's fine. That's what faith is. Faith is a sixth sense that just doesn't make sense. And yet this is the proof of our faith. This is the proof of the pudding, which will now be found in the eating at the table of God, surrounded by your enemies, and you're at total rest. It is now well with your soul. Can you do that? Man, we need it. I hope we find it. See you tomorrow. Bye.